Hello, friend. Welcome to the Celebration Machine. My name's Pete. I am your host. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for being here. And if you are a long-time listener, meaning you've watched my other two videos, thank you for coming back. It's greatly appreciated, and it's very exciting to have you all here. So is it just me, or have things been feeling very strange for the last few years, and in particular this year? Have things just felt off or different or strange, and you can't really get your bearings? Chances are, if you've clicked on this video, you felt that same feeling that things are off. You can't quite put your finger on it, but either time doesn't feel like it used to, or life doesn't feel like it used to. So I'd like to go over that today. I don't have any concrete answers as to why that is. I'm more interested in how we navigate these times. There's lots of content out there trying to explain, what's happening in the world energetically and otherwise, politically, all those sorts of things, how all those worlds come together to create the experience you're having. But I'm more interested in how you navigate the world, regardless of what's happening. So today I want to talk about a few things. So things are feeling weird. Everything feels off. People can't explain it. It could be physical, spiritual, emotional. You could feel different on all those levels. Me personally, I felt crazy things since about August. I felt strange things in my body. I'm just off in every sense of the word. Energetically, spiritually, my dreams were out of control. But the one thing that has always saved me is my ability to sort of try and put myself back in the moment and try and find that sense of presence, if you will. And in thinking about this, I realized that a lot of the feelings I was having and a lot of the uncomfortable feelings I was having, especially, is because I feel like we're between two worlds, if that makes any sense. We're between what used to be and what's coming. It's a hallway, okay? And there's a door on either end. Well, we're in the hallway right now. That's what I feel. But picture yourself in a hallway. Behind us is our old way of living, our old existence, if you will. And then what's ahead of us in a doorway that we haven't quite got to is a future, which for a lot of people makes us quite uncomfortable and anxious because we want to know what's happening. We want to know what's going on. We want to know how we're going to be, if we're going to be safe, if we're going to be okay, what's the world going to look like? And I think what's happening is that we're living through collective endings, old systems, right? From the systems we've all known our whole lives, the banking system, political systems, all those things are starting to feel kind of not real or different, at least in my experience. And it can cause some confusion, old belief systems, ways of being culturally are changing and dissolving. And we can look at these things one of two ways, right? We can get really afraid because we don't know what's happening or we can't identify that feeling, which makes us uncomfortable and causes anxiety. Or we can look at that anxiety, which is the first cousin to fear, and be like, well, what if we got excited about it? I choose to get excited about it because if you can't control it, you might as well get ready for, trying to experience it in the most positive way possible. And I'm not talking about toxic positivity. There's a room for all feelings in my world, but if I don't know what's coming, I want to prepare myself the best I can with that mindset of, well, I'm going to be here now in this moment. And if I'm in this moment and I'm calm, I can handle the next moment. So things are feeling weird. Things are feeling strange. Now, is that because the world is changing? Is that because we're changing personally? All the above. Nothing is ever the same. Everything's always in flux, right? Nothing stays constant in nature. The sun goes up, the sun goes down. Nature acts in all kinds of ways. There's all kinds of movement all the time. Nothing is ever static, really. And again, going back to this space that I feel like we're in, this in-between world, it's important as a funeral guy, I feel, in order to move into the next thing, we kind of have to recognize that things have changed. So when you lose a loved one, the power in the funeral rite or the funeral ritual and everything that happens to you personally as you go through that space is recognizing that things have changed, recognizing that things look different. Grief changes our lens on the world, right? So everything looks different when you're grieving. And with grief comes anger, comes all kinds of feelings. We can go through the stages of it, but grief to me has always been something that you move with. It's a dance partner that shows up and you're forced to dance with this dance partner. You can try and run from it, but it's going to be there until you dance with it, right? Or address it. So right now, the old way of living or the old world we had feels like it's not there anymore or quickly dissolving, and we don't know what's coming. So we're in this in between space. And I found that in preparing for what I feel is coming, which I don't have any predictions of, but I think things are going to get better. I think that we're, as a collective, we're coming to a place where we realize that the way we used to live, it's not really working. And we're kind of feeling like this dead end in terms of living the way we used to live. Um, and in order to move forward into something new, you really need some sort of closure. I think we can all understand, situations, whether it was a relationship or a job or losing a loved one. If you don't come to some kind of closure on all those things, not only is it going to spoil or taint what's coming next, it might actually completely change what you experience next. Because if you lose somebody and you haven't worked through it, you can go numb. You can be really affected in a I don't want to say negative, but in a way that's not going to be forward moving in your life. So in this space that we're in now, if you're feeling the things I'm describing, it's okay to be scared, and it's okay to be, you know, anxious, and it's okay to feel all those things, because any sort of ending brings all those feelings. And the toxic positivity angle where you're gonna chin up and you're gonna power through it. Yeah, there's days you have to physically get out of bed and move forward in order to keep going to your job or to keep moving and living. But you you really need to recognize the space you're in and the place you're in, and understand that it's okay. It's okay if you're scared, and it's okay if you want all the answers, but they're not coming. It's okay, because right now in this exact moment, if you just pause and you take a breath, nothing's happening. So much of this stuff happens in our own minds. And when I'm working with people, especially with funerals, I tell them there's a power in the pause. There's a power in just taking a breath, especially if you're going to deliver a eulogy, or if you just have to sit there and deal with a really difficult thing. So even though everything feels really strange right now and really weird, just stop, slow down, right? Take a breath. No matter what's going on, stop, take a breath, reset yourself. So if that means you're in the middle of a eulogy or you're about to start and all your fears are pounding on the door of your consciousness saying you're going to screw up, it's going to be horrible, people are going to laugh at you, you're going to disrespect the deceased, stop, right? And if you're worried about the way the world feels, it's the same thing. Just stop. There's power in the pause. Just remember that. There's power in the pause, right? Just breathe. Slow down. So endings, they're not optional, right? Going through things in order to move forward, they're not really optional. You can ignore things, but the things that are undenied are going to be waiting for you in some way, shape, or form. Whether that's the sense that you just can't settle, or you just feel stuck. But endings, they make room for what comes next. When you have that funeral, it's a very definitive moment and experience that once you're through it, there's the time before the funeral, the time after the funeral. There's the time before your loved one dies. There's the time after your loved one dies. Everything changes. Everything looks different. But the power in the ritual is that you get perspective, you get understanding. Sometimes you get closure, but most times you learn how to move with your new reality until that becomes your new normal. And hopefully that's in a way that you feel positive and you feel healthy. Never mind positive, because there's a lot of power in negativity too, or negative emotions, or emotions that we find hard to deal with. So I don't want to discount those. The older I get, the more I see value in every bit of the spectrum of emotions. There's power in all of them. There's usefulness in all of them, but they're like ghosts, right? They're not really real, but they can haunt you. So nothing new really arrives without release. As we move into this new way of living, whatever is coming, it's a great time to take stock. Just like after someone passes away, it's a good time to take stock of your life and to really think about what's been working for me, what's not working for me. Is this version of myself the version I'm really happy with? And if it's not, what would I like to experience? How would I like to be? What is the version of me that makes me feel excited or makes me feel like it's something I should move towards? And honestly, you don't need all the answers. You just need honesty, right? Like there's power in just being honest with yourself. Like if you're miserable, you're miserable. If you're not in love with the person you're with, you're not in love with that person. And it's honest, right? You're being honest, because how the hell are you supposed to move forward without that honesty? And even if it's just acknowledging it for yourself. So this ending of this weird space we're in right now, we'll call it between the worlds or between the earths. After you take the time to sort of do a forensic audit of the way you've been living or the way you felt the world has been around you, and you can do that through journaling. You can do that just by thinking about it. I mean, writing stuff down is great because you have a record of it. It gets it out of your head. But once you kind of sit down and think about, well, what am I letting go of? And what is the world I'm letting go of? And what didn't I like about that? And what would I like to see? You just get through that. And then you get to the sort of the fun stuff, which is, what is the world I want to be in? Right? How do I want to feel? How do I want to feel in this new world? Because I really believe that life is created from the inside out. It's an inside job. And you get to see the results of the inside job, the work we do inside. And so it's okay to be afraid. Fear is not a weakness. It's an indicator that you're paying attention, you're involved, because you could be going through life just numb, not giving a shit about any of it, not being involved in any way, shape, or form. And I think that energetic signature is felt in the world. It's certainly felt in the people around you. And it shapes our world. I think if you've ever gone to a concert and felt thousands of people vibing together, or you've ever been to a protest and you felt thousands of people or hundreds of people expressing the same thing together, whether it's love, hate, fear, excitement, it's real and it's tangible. Now, I'm not a scientist, clearly. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a super well-educated man, but I know what love is. But I know that feelings and energy, they're real. We experience them, but energy is real, and feeling things is certainly real. So acknowledging those feelings is a good thing. It's a good place to start. Acknowledging how you're feeling is a good place to start. But then taking ownership of the moment you're in, right? Pause, breathe, and deciding how you would like to feel moving forward. That doesn't mean all of a sudden it's going to happen. But to me, I'll give you an example. I didn't know what real love was in terms of a romantic relationship, okay? I really didn't. I thought I did, but I didn't. And this isn't like a slam against anyone I've ever been with prior to being married, but I literally sat down and tried to figure out on paper what that would be. How would I experience that in physical reality, spiritually, emotionally? What is the kind of love that's going to carry me to my grave, type of thing? That kind of love. And it came down to how I'm going to feel. So, you're going to feel safe, right? And men have trouble even saying stuff like that you don't feel safe. But I wanted to feel safe, right? I wanted to feel calm. I wanted to feel loved. But loved to me is the end game of all those feelings, feeling safe, feeling seen, feeling understood, being respected, being valued, being heard. And I think no matter what relationship you're in, those are all things you want to feel. But I literally had to write that down. And then I said, okay, I have all those things on paper, but what would it feel like? What would it feel like to be in a relationship where all those things were happening on a consistent basis. And I was kind of stumped. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to feel calm. Well, this was, a few years ago, and the world certainly didn't feel calm, and it was hard to find that calm. But okay, well, what does feeling calm feel like? Then I realized I don't really know what feeling calm is like. So when you start doing these forensic audits of yourself, I started to realize that how I saw the world was really related to how I saw myself, and that the world inside me was there was a correlation between the two. So the world feeling weird right now is a strange one because other people that I talk to are saying the same things, whereas before life kind of felt more personal. And I don't know why the world is feeling the way it is, but there is a feeling. And so trying to move with that, like I've moved with grief and other things, has been a day-to-day learning, for lack of a better word. So presence is important, and presence, it doesn't really remove uncertainty because life is uncertain regardless. You don't know what's going to happen. You can talk to people the world over, and again, the way they see the world is going to be based on their experiences, their perspective. But presence is important because it puts us right here, right now. And if you find you're able to get into a place of calm, it is a superpower. And this isn't me trying to tell you how to, go meditate and do all those things, but I don't care how you do it. I feel very calm after an hour of rolling at jujitsu, right? I feel very calm after basically getting strangled for an hour and fighting with my buddies. I feel like I can handle anything after that. I feel calm and I get regulated being with my wife. I don't know what happens there, but we regulate each other emotionally. So if the world's going through big changes, let's look at who we're hanging out with, who are we spending time with, and how that feels. Because oftentimes, or lately, I've talked to a lot of people, and there's huge changes going on in people's personal lives. Leaving jobs, leaving partners, finding jobs, finding partners, like big shifts that are happening in people's lives. And I really feel like it's all moving in a very positive direction. But again, that's the world I'm trying to create. And it's not all kumbaya and campfires, but I don't want to live in a world that's filled with hate and anger and fear. And I'm certainly going to do my best to create a world within myself where that doesn't exist because it sucks and it's uncomfortable. So if you want to find out how spiritual you are, go sit in traffic. My wife catches me all the time losing my shit, and she's right to sort of call me out gently on it and be like, yeah, what if that person is your mother, your 85-year-old mother that can't see, can't hear, and she's driving? Would you want some dickhead like you getting mad at her? And I'm like, no, you're right. And of course, it's not coming from a condescending place. It's not, it's all loving. I married her for a reason. She knows how to communicate with me, and there's a lot of respect there, clearly. So going back to this world, if we're creating a world, it's not only shaped by political systems and social systems, it's shaped by attention and tone. And when I say tone, emotional tone, and it's shaped by what we repeatedly consume and what we spew out. So the collective consciousness is built moment by moment, and we have a huge hand in it. So to sort of put that in simple terms, we're transmitters and receivers, and what we think and what we feel and what we put out into the world and what we take from the world is generally going to create the world as you see it. And I've been an angry guy. I've been a scared guy. I've been a guy that was terrified to be his real self. I'm actually a pretty shy person, and I was in a band called Loud Love for years, trying to take what I had learned and experienced in the cancer experience and and losing my mind and taking all the good out of that and then putting it into music in order to create a moment when we played where people felt what I felt at my highest moment in that experience. I could have just as easily started a super heavy band to try and let everyone feel how much fear and anger I had experienced during that time. But I thought, well, if I was going to die tomorrow, what do I want to leave behind? Right. And it all ties back into how do you make people feel? And I didn't want people to go, wow, that Pete guy was a pretty angry, fucked up guy. That's not what I wanted to leave. So I focused on the love. And, sometimes it wasn't as sincere as it could have been because, I was faking because I was still not all right in the head, but I didn't want to focus on that. So here we are now, years later, and I feel like we've all gone through something collectively through COVID and that experience. And the political climate of the world certainly is bananas and everything feels really kind of strange and off. And we're all experiencing this together. Life doesn't feel as private as it used to. Maybe that's the social media thing, but it feels like we're all experiencing this together because we have access to all the same information and we tend to find our tribes and then, we all share the information that's relevant to the tribe we're in. But on a whole, everybody feels that I've talked to that things are different. So I was thinking about the idea of feeling my way forward. What's the world going to be like? And all up here, but feeling it forward. So if the future I want to experience is a feeling and I can focus on that feeling, I want to try and draw myself to it and be it all at the same time. And I know that sounds like, but if I ask myself what kind of a world I want to live in, I thought of peace and courage and honesty and compassion and all those things. And in order to get there, you got to practice in small ways. Am I going to freak out on the guy in front of me in traffic who just is clearly not driving the way I want them to? Some days, yeah, absolutely. 100%. But then the next time, maybe I'm going to try a little better, right? Maybe I'm not going to freak out, or maybe I'll learn how to take a breath, pause, right? Take a breath, relax. Don't focus on it. And I think it's important. It's responsible for us to take ownership of all those feelings and all that shit. And it's not, the power is in taking control of it all. Whenever something happens to you, you can adopt the victim mentality where you're powerless, or you say, okay, if I really want to get crazy, I've agreed to this on some level. That's why I'm experiencing it. And so I'm taking ownership of it. So endings aren't failures, right? Endings aren't failures. The old world, the old ways, this is evolution. We're learning how to be a people. We're learning how to be a species, and we're influenced by so many things. Technology, artificial intelligence, the speed of life right now. I don't think we're designed for it. I think that the reason we feel so comfortable sitting around a bonfire with our friends, sharing stories, is that's kind of we're still on dial-up as a species, and it feels good and it's slowed down and we can take it in. So I just wanted to, I want to close out by saying, yes, the world feels weird. No, you're not going crazy. Remember the power in the pause. I do believe that things are going to get better. I do believe you have a hand in it. And no matter what's happening to you in the moment you're in, and this is again coming from when I'm coaching people that hire me for funerals, when they're writing a eulogy or they're trying to perform a eulogy, well, first of all, I tell them, practice it, right? Practice it, take it outside and somewhere, no one's around you and read it out loud and cry and fall apart and do all those things. And do that as many times as you feel you need to do in order to sort of get the feeling of what performing that eulogy is. Find your flow, find your pace, but just practice it. And so, yes, everything feels weird, but no matter what, if you start practicing the feeling of the person you want to be, the world you want to live in, and the way you want to navigate that world, if you just practice that in small ways, I really think it helps the collective. Now that's me hoping that it's in a beneficial way. Like if you wake up and say, I want to be a fucking asshole who hurts everybody because I'm in pain and I want to get better at hurting other people before they hurt me, don't do that, you know? But what I'm saying is if you are vibing with the idea of a more peaceful world, a more tolerant world, a world that's kinder, softer, more beautiful, well, just sort of create that space within yourself and see if you can find it in the day to day, starting with how you think about yourself and how you treat yourself and work outwards, right? And then that will definitely affect your household, your place where you work, the worlds you inhabit within the greater world. And then we link up, and that does affect consciousness, I believe. So give that a try. And you're not broken, right? We're just between stories, right? We're between worlds. And if you haven't really closed up one world, it's kind of hard to build the next. And sometimes the broken pieces of the old world are the ones you use as the framework for the new world, and they come in handy. It's the perfect shape, right? That broken part of you or your story is the perfect shape that you need to create this next one. So in the end, I think the line that sticks with me most is you don't need certainty, right? You don't need certainty. We all want to know what this world is coming up. We want to know how things are going to be. You need presence, and not like cadeau, not presents like gifts, although those are fantastic too, but presence, right? To be here now in this moment. Presence. I'm figuring it out as I go along, and I'm finding that it's about connection, and it's about sort of navigating the world through the lessons I've learned and the work that I do. And it is translatable. So hopefully you got something good out of that. If I can leave you with anything, there's power in the pause, and your presence really is your gift. Hey, how about that? That was pretty good. But it's true. Your presence really is a gift to somebody, or it's a nightmare. So hopefully you can find something beautiful out of that and enjoy whatever it is you're doing for the rest of the day. Again, thank you for your time. I really do appreciate you spending time with me. And I hope that what I did and said today made you feel a little better, maybe. Hopefully not worse. Anyways, I'm Pete. Thank you for being with me. And this is the Celebration Machine. Bye for now.